Hey there people, how you doing? So, today we have a short but fairly interesting comparison. It is between the iPhone 12 and iPhone 11. Now, here there are some things I noticed, first and foremost of which is that there are very few, if any, differences when it comes to good lighting conditions, mainly in normal daylight and even lighting between the iPhone 12 and 11. There's basically one difference that I could properly make out. The rest of it was very similar. I'll point out the difference to you, but when it comes to the indoors lighting and night mode, on the ultra-wide camera, that's where the iPhone 12 shines. Now, with that said, let's get started because this is going to be a short one, but again, a fairly interesting one. Alright, this is our first ultra-wide daylight image, and some things that we can notice immediately is that the iPhone 12 has much higher contrast, at least in the shadows, it's fairly darker. Now, it could be an advantage and a disadvantage because although me as a subject, I look kind of better on the iPhone 11, the 12 makes the overall image look a little less faded. You can see it in the background. It looks very faded on the iPhone 11, but the 12 can do a fairly better job. Now in the previous image, I preferred the iPhone 11 to a certain degree because as a subject I look better, but over here, I definitely like how the iPhone 12 brings out the contrast and just, everything looks a lot more substantial in my opinion. While the iPhone 11, it's not bad, but it does look slightly faded to my eyes at least. Now for indoors lighting, this is where things will get interesting, but here obviously both of them are on their main cameras, and as we already know, diffusion plays a major part in bringing out the details on both of them. And here I think the only real difference is that there are slightly better highlights on the iPhone 11 while the iPhone 12, because of its higher contrast, is kind of blowing it out right there in the background. It's very mild, but because of that, I'm actually going with the iPhone 11. Damn, I didn't think that the iPhone 11 would get 2 wins right off the bat. But this is where the competition between the two, it basically ends because the ultra-wide on the iPhone 12 has diffusion, on the 11 it does not. It's very clear that the details and the overall noise reduction on the iPhone 12 is miles better. And even if you look at the image from a wider angle, not thinking about the details, even then the iPhone 12 looks better because we have so much better contrast, it just looks way less faded. Like overall, the image is far more appealing in my opinion on the iPhone 12. Moving on to the main camera, and here I once again prefer the iPhone 12, but this time it's just because of the slightly higher contrast. You can see in the upper part of the image, it starts to look kind of faded, and on the iPhone 12, on the other hand, it looks so much better. Another ultra-wide indoors, and once again, phenomenal detail on the iPhone 12, especially in the leaves and then in the little texture on the pillar over there. It's so much better on the iPhone 12 that the 11 doesn't even stand a chance at this point. Now for an indoors portrait, well, I don't think either of them have diffusion. If I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. But nonetheless, I do think that both of them are looking fairly nice. The edge detection is ever so slightly better on the iPhone 12. As you can see, it is clipping out a little bit right beside my cheek, but the iPhone 12 is managing that a slight bit better. It's not a huge difference, to be honest. But nonetheless, I think this one can be called a tie. Another portrait, and here, without question, I prefer the iPhone 12 because it has so much better contrast. As you can see, the black parts of my t-shirt and my shoes, both of them look black. While on the iPhone it looks kind of bluish and the whole image looks very faded. The shadows they're not really looking, once again, substantial. I prefer this look of the iPhone 12, and I really like that we have slightly higher contrast this time around. Now we have our final ultra-wide, and one thing that I've noticed over and over is that the iPhone 11 tends to have a lot more lens flares. You can see in the lights on the upper part of the image, it is getting a little bit more flared and slightly more blown out as well on the iPhone 11, while the 12 is doing a fairly better job in keeping the highlights a little bit more under control. The details, as you'd expect, fair bit better on the iPhone 12 because of diffusion, obviously. Now let's go to night mode, and here the differences just get that much more exaggerated because as you can see, the ultra-wide camera is doing so much better with the night mode on this image, while the iPhone 11 just does not stand a chance. But one thing that I do want to say is that the iPhone 12's ultra wide in night mode is not the best out there. I definitely think there are other phones out there like the Note 20 Ultra or even the OnePlus 8 Pro. You can check out my comparisons. There I did find that the ultra wide camera in particular, it has way too much over sharpening, and even in this image it is very much visible. Now we have our main camera, and again with night mode, I would say that both of them are looking just phenomenal in their own right, but I do prefer the iPhone 12. And it's not because of the lens flare situation. Both of them have some form of lens flare, so it's basically a tie in that regard. But if you look at the trees in the lower part of the image, the iPhone 12 has fairly high contrast, which is making them look very much lively and less faded in my opinion. So yes, that is why I prefer the iPhone 12 in this situation. Now another main camera night mode, and here I'd say that both of them are looking very nice, and it's basically a tie. The higher contrast on the iPhone 12 doesn't really play a huge part in making the image stand out, to me at least. I really like both of them, and just pick whichever one you want. I'd call it a tie. Another ultra wide, and this is a very tricky situation because there is a warm light on the left and a white light on the right, and surprisingly the iPhone 11 makes it blue while the iPhone 12 is doing a better job at maintaining the color. But again, the details and everything, it looks better on the iPhone 12, but still you can very clearly see the extra amount of sharpening artifacts, and it just looks messy in my opinion. I definitely think that Apple needs to fix this because there is too much over sharpening going on, and it just does not look nice. It doesn't look close to as good the night mode is on the wide angle camera. I know it's not supposed to be as good, but even so, I definitely think that Apple needs to improve a little bit in the ultra wide night mode. Alright, now our final image, it is the main camera, the same situation obviously, but once again you can see the similar kinds of differences. There is more lens flare, and the colors are slightly inaccurate with the white light becoming very blue on the iPhone 11. And because of that, and because of the lower contrast, the trees just look completely faded. Honestly, it doesn't look nice. On the iPhone 12, on the other hand, we have so much better colors, the lens flare is completely under control, and secondly, the trees look so much more detailed, and the contrast is helping out even more in the situation. It just looks better, straight up. Alright, so that is it for this comparison, and as I said, short but interesting indeed. And I do think that there are a fair number of upgrades to warrant that this is almost worth the extra amount of money that you're gonna have to pay to upgrade to the iPhone 12 over the iPhone 11, because clearly the ultra wide camera has so much more to it. It's got the diffusion for indoors lighting, it's got night mode, and that is just amazing in my opinion. The night mode isn't the highest quality that I've seen, clearly, because it's got too much over sharpening and noise, but I do think that if Apple improves on it even a little bit, it'll be very good indeed. It just makes the iPhone 12 that much more capable and more competitive when it comes to its Android counterparts. And yeah, I think that these cameras are amazing. No doubt about that. Everyone thinks that is the case. But yeah, now it is a lot more rounded because it's not just the main camera that's good, even the ultra wide is almost just as capable. Not as good in night mode, but it could be. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.